Hi, and welcome to our weekly Wednesday webinar. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today our topic will be a continuation of a topic that we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks. And I think it's something that we're all thinking about, which is how do we prepare for the upcoming school year? This is a question that I've been asking myself a lot as a parent and as a teacher. And so last week we discussed how parents could help their child prepare for the upcoming school year. So if you missed that, there's both a written blog and also a video like this one on that topic. And then this week what we're going to talk about is strategies for teachers to prepare for the upcoming school year. And just before we begin discussing this, I want to point out that I'm not approaching this topic as an expert in digital education or an expert in online learning. Like yourself, I Parish Learning Zone for a while. We've been constantly sort of considering how to implement online learning and, for us, online tutoring sessions, and that's something we've been working on for years. But this school year has forced the teachers at Parish Learning Zone to jump in to fully dive in to online learning. And so like you, we are trying to figure out what is most effective and what works best. So I'm hoping that today I can offer some suggestions about some things that I've found to be really effective for online learning and distance learning. And I hope that in the comments you will leave some suggestions and some tools and resources that you've found to be really effective for online teaching and learning. I think that what we've realized as teachers is that online teaching is not just about giving teachers and students access to all of the technology that they need. In order to teach online, teachers have to learn completely new tools. And so even though the teacher is still the content expert, suddenly they're not able to deliver the content in the same way that they usually do. And that creates this huge task for teachers, this huge undertaking where they then have to rework all of their lessons in order to make them compatible with distance learning. So we hope today, I hope by discussing this topic, we can share some ideas that will make that process a little bit easier for you. I know that as a teacher, many of you work in a school system with students with many diverse needs and a lot of considerations decisions that need to be made at the system level. Before, as a teacher, you know exactly how you're going to implement your plan for the school year. But once a consistent plan is made at the district level, the teacher is really the front line of distance learning from that point on. So for teachers, as I was thinking through this, I was thinking that preparation means having systems in place that allow you to effectively deliver distance learning. And although we all realize that distance and online learning may not be exactly like in-person learning, I think that with preparation, it's possible to make online and distance learning just as effective as in-person learning. So it's important to note that something that as I've sort of delved in, I've started working on planning online lessons, it's important to think about still doing all of the things that you would do in a high quality in-person lesson. So there needs to be instruction, there needs to be modeling, there needs to be an opportunity for ungraded practice and student collaboration where students are working together, and then an opportunity to demonstrate what's been learned through a relevant project or assignment or perhaps a presentation. And this means that distance learning is not just about taking the graded assignments that you have and moving them online instead of giving them to the student in person, because online learning should never feel like a student is teaching themselves. So instead, as teachers, what we're tasked with is we have to figure out how to make online instruction collaborative so that it involves interacting with the other students and also interacting with the teacher. So that means that if online instruction is simply slides or worksheets that are posted online, that's not going to be sufficient because it's not going to allow us to, we can't meet all students' needs that way. So just like effective in-person instruction, there has to be a variety of choices or different ways that a student can learn a concept. So maybe this would involve games or live videos or sorts or simulations or discussions that can all be implemented in an online format. So some ideas, some things that I've tried here that I felt were really effective and worked well with the groups and the classes and the individual students that I worked with are finding ways that you can meet online and do the things, different tools than you would use in person, but to do the same things that you would do in person. So for example, using a tool like Flipgrid, or I know there's another one called Seesaw that I'm less familiar with, to have students present, explain, or show their work in sort of a video format where they can tell you how they did something. Or explain how they worked out a particular problem. And it also allows students to watch other students' explanation or short presentation. Something really cool that we've tried here at Parish Learning Zone is when we have students studying a book or learning about a particular topic, something that is actually a strength of online is that it's possible to get authors and speakers into your online classroom that you would not be able to get to come to your in-person classroom because it would be too expensive. So if you're reading a book, it's relatively easy to reach out to an author, or if you're studying a particular topic, it's easy to reach out to an expert and have them join you in your online classroom to chat with your students or present to your students for a few minutes. And answer their questions, which can be an experience that they would not have been able to have in person, and it can really bring what you're learning to life. There are lots of ways that you can engage students as a teacher online in project-based learning by doing tons of different things, and there's whole sites that we've posted in blogs earlier in the summer about how to engage in project-based learning online. But there's lots of ideas, like you can create a blog or have students create a photo essay, do a project that they can do online and then be able to submit and present to their peers. Something that I think is helpful in promoting equity and a little extra time and support for students who need that, students who are English language learners or perhaps who have special needs, is realizing that you can, of course, meet in a video conference like a Google Hangout Meet, or, whatever your district happens to be using. You can meet as a whole class in a live video, but you can also meet as subgroups. So maybe there are certain subgroups that you meet with as a small group to provide those students with additional support. Or maybe students can meet in their own small groups to do projects or to talk together or collaborate. It doesn't just have to be one big group live class, which was sort of it seems simple, but an important realization for me that just like when you're meeting in person, you can also meet in small groups online to provide extra teacher support. And those can be structured and at a certain time. It doesn't have to be set up by the student like an office hour. You can, in fact, set up those small groups to address particular student needs or to allow students to work together. I think it's important, it's been important online especially, to have a consistent routine and a consistent way of doing things, just like you would in the classroom, so that students know what the procedure is and they know how to turn in assignments, they know where to find their assignments and how to complete them. A really cool idea that I got, that I saw another teacher doing, was to have some opportunities, and I've seen this come up a lot with teachers in working with students online, have some opportunities for students to socialize like they would in person and to interact with each other and to interact with the teacher, so that it's not just all about the academic content, because there's really a lot going on right now, and students need that social support and the time to be with their peers and to interact in a more casual way with their teacher just as much, if not more, than the academic content. So an idea around that is to find a game that reviews the concept that you've been working on that week, and to allow students to have some time to have fun playing the game and also to interact with each other in a specific day or a specific hour that's just devoted to socializing and playing that game, where there is an academic component to the game, but there's also some time for students to chat and catch up around that sort of game night or that hour devoted to playing that review game. It also gives students a way to study and to learn the material that's more effective, or maybe an alternative for students that those sorts of games work well for. Another idea along those same lines is to allow kids time to just chat and to socialize with their peers. And this might be at the beginning of a live class session online. It might be at the end. It might be at the beginning and the end. So students have a way to ease into the lesson. And this is something that I do in person too. I always take the first little portion of our time to chat and catch up, because it gives students something to look forward to, and it eases them and makes them more comfortable with approaching the academic content, because they have some time to, do something they enjoy first. And for students that don't want to socialize with other students, that's not something that they would look forward to and enjoy, similar to in a regular class in person when you would implement this sort of thing. Those students can do something else during that time. They can draw, they can work on something quietly, they can do what makes them comfortable during that sort of informal beginning or ending to the class, or informal social time. And so those are a few things that have worked well for me, and I would love to hear any of your suggestions as well. The way that I'm going to end this, and I will have all of these linked in the written blog that we post to go along with this video online, is I'm just going to provide 2 resources that I have found really helpful. The first one is pretty straightforward and basic. We use a couple of online platforms. We use one platform for individual tutoring, and for group tutoring, we do use the Google Suite for Education. And so the first tool is the Google for Educators Teach from Anywhere site. And what I found this really helpful in doing is, if there is a basic thing that you need a tutorial on, it is on this site. So it will tell you step by step how to make a video call with your class, how to record live lessons for your students to watch later, how to do sort of like a live stream or like a closed captioning sort of thing if you need that for your students, to be able to adapt the online instruction to different needs. Also, it has tutorials on how to create an assignment in Google Classroom, how to use Google Slides, how to collaborate using Google Docs. And then there's a lot of information about, as I mentioned a minute ago, how to modify the lessons that are available and make them accessible to all students. So that would be like how to add a screen reader, how to use a screen reader, how to use some of the accessibility tools that are available on Chromebooks and available through the Google Suite for Education, ways to encourage students by having them discuss with each other, or ways to provide feedback when you're using Google Documents. So there's just a ton of useful step-by-step tutorials there for getting started, and then as you continue to progress with your online instruction. The second really great resource that I'm going to put up here is something called Learning Keeps Going. It's a website that's provided by EdSurge and ISTE, and it has just a wealth, almost an overwhelming amount of information to support educators who are transitioning to distance and online learning. So there's low cost and free training for teachers on a variety of different online and distance learning topics. There's a database on there where you can search classroom resources by topic and grade level. And there's just a ton of links to other websites and sources that provide that type of information to educators. So I will link both of those here, and they're also in the written blog that goes along with this particular topic on our website. I would love to hear about anything that you're doing as a teacher that you felt like has been particularly effective in working with your students, or something that you tried and you felt like it worked really well. Please leave that in the comments here, or in the comments that go along with the blog. I would love to share ideas with each other so that we can learn together how to be more effective in implementing online instruction and education, and produce more ideas to benefit our students. This is going to be our last online weekly Wednesday webinar, because the summer is coming to a close, and we have some big announcements coming up at Parish Learning Zone about some future projects that we will be working on. So I have really enjoyed joining you each week for our weekly Wednesday webinar, and thank you so much for watching and for contributing, and I've enjoyed our discussions that have happened as a result of these webinar topics. And don't forget that we are still offering free tutoring and free getting ready for the school year workshops to any student, without any obligation to sign up for any future tutoring, and you can sign up for those free sessions on our website, and they just need to be held in the month of July, so you have a little over a week left to claim those sessions if you would like to. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you have a great week.